I remember the day that Lyra was admitted very well, and I can in fact still picture the cubicle she was in on the ward and seeing her parents and her lying in the cot and just how worried they were. She was what we describe as irritable, and when we see irritability in babies, we are worried that there is something in the brain that is affecting them. And actually my first thought was that Lyra could be suffering from meningitis. So I proceeded to treat her for that and take the relevant tests. But I remember very well talking to my colleague who I handed over to that evening, that if the tests didn't fit with meningitis, that I was really worried there was something different going on. When I came back in the next morning, and I wasn't supposed to be at work, but I'd thought about Lyra all night. I'd gone home worrying about her, thinking about her. I checked the results of those tests and they didn't look conclusive to me regarding meningitis. I asked the consultant on at that time if I could organise an urgent scan, which is when we then found out the real reason for why she was presenting as such an unwell baby. And that was that she had what we described then as a mass on the brain, because we didn't know exactly what this was.
I remember the night that Lyra was brought in very well. Actually, I was on call, looking after the neurosurgical emergencies for the whole of the southwest of England, and we got a phone call about a 6-month-old baby who'd not been doing very well. She'd been losing weight and had been vomiting a lot, and then her head had started to get big, and they'd done a scan and found a very large tumour, so she came to us as an emergency. She had a kind of tumour called a choroid plexus papilloma, which is technically a benign tumour. It's not one that typically spreads throughout the brain, but they can be very, very large and difficult to remove. They also come from the tissue that makes brain fluid, so they can produce a lot of brain fluid and cause hydrocephalus, which is what Lyra had, which is why her head had increased in size so much. And in addition to that, they also have a very, very, very large blood supply, so they're difficult to remove because they can bleed and cause life-threatening complications because of that.
Hello.
Ah, Lyra!
Hello.
How are you doing? I good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
My goodness, how old are you now?
12.
My good. Last time I saw you, you were about yay big. You were tiny.
Oh.
One of the problems that brain tumours cause in children is that they cause a massive increase in the pressure within the brain. And that's a very bad thing because pressure inside the brain goes up, the blood flow to the brain goes down because the skull is an enclosed space. And that raised pressure can cause all kinds of problems, including sudden deteriorations because of the reduced blood flow, and also can result in visual problems and ultimately blindness. So that accounted for the picture that we were seeing, and that's why it was pretty critical when she came to us, because she was on the edge of not being able to cope with that pressure. And I think that had we not done something soon, then she may have deteriorated, possibly beyond recovery.
Well, I think the thing about Lyra's story was just how vulnerable she was, how young she was, and that they found this tumour in such a small, precious creature, and that actually she got past it. Actually, you know, it was a good news story. Unfortunately, in brain tumour research, we hear a lot of stories that don't have great endings, but this one had a really good ending and had some real promise and some hope and some optimism, and it's what we all need to cling on to that.
Hello, I'm Claudia Barros. I'm one of the lead researchers here at our Plymouth Brain Tumour Research Centre of Excellence. The centre is sponsored by Brain Tumour Research, and knowing that you are contributing to that discovery, to that improvement of therapies, I think is extremely rewarding and has an effect on what you do daily.
I mean, I don't think anyone who was at Brain Tumour Research at the time could forget what was going on with Lyra. She was such a presence. She was such a motivation for all of us. She was such a fantastic kid, and so yeah, absolutely, I remember her and the campaign and the single and everything that she and the family did to raise awareness for brain tumour research. So when we look at how effective, how impactful campaigns are, we talk about something called reach. Basically, how many people know what's going on, how many people heard Lyra's stories. And that could be measured in thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. But with Lyra's story, we measured it in millions.
It's really amazing to look back at 2019 and realising what I've achieved.
I take the road less traveled, yeah, choose my battles.
After everything I went through and my family, creating became our way of processing it.
We were blown away by it all. I mean, we talk about national coverage. For much of it, it was the first time that we'd actually got that exposure in that way, with that type of story, and it really, really made a difference. So it was like, this is the story, this is what I'm doing about it, this is how you can get involved, and it all came together to make one really strong campaign. And having that narrative is so important if you're going to bring people with you. So I think the initial attraction was Lyra, but then her message got people to do more.
We'll see the day. This is the moment.
What I like most about everything so far is just being able to perform and share it with people. I feel really happy making music so I can just be myself.
Looking out for something more.
I've been working with my auntie on my first original single. My auntie wrote it and I'm singing it.
This is the moment.
I think that there's two things that really spring to mind here, one of which is that Lyra has demonstrated herself to have a massive public spirit here, and she's done so much with her music and her entertainment plans, I think, to raise the national interest in things like brain tumours, which are big interests actually, nationally for everybody really. They're not that common, but they're difficult to treat, and they're often diagnosed late. So any kind of support in publicising the kind of presentations that people have is very important. So she's been hugely helpful with that. And of course, she's raised an awful lot of money for brain tumour charities, which is a wonderful thing to do, because so much of what we do is dependent upon charitable support these days. So that's a wonderful thing. And of course, she's a budding star in the making. So we're all very proud to have been part of the journey for somebody who may reach the stars.
To see what she has become, the fantastic young person she has become, to see how she is taking every opportunity in life to use her skills for the better, and to be part of that story is just so rewarding, and it's why I turn up to work every day and why I enjoy this job so much.
This is the moment. This is how our story goes. I can feel it in my bones. Yeah, this life ebbs and flows. Into the wild we go.
I just want to have a really happy life and do what I love. I want to take every opportunity and make the most of it.
Into the wild we go. This is the moment.
From the first single to the next single, things have really progressed, and it's because of people like Lyra and her family sharing their story and putting their head above the parapet and saying, we want to make a difference, we are going to do something different, we are going to improve things for brain tumour patients. And on behalf of Brain Tumour Research and the brain tumour community in this country, I just want to say thank you.
I'm really excited about my new song that's coming this summer.
This is the moment.